All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our Estrella virtual visit series. My name is Allison Campbell with Estrella Consulting, and I'm so excited to welcome Heather Chase from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And our virtual visit series is designed to introduce you and these local colleges, international colleges, colleges all over the US, to their staff so you can get to learn a little bit more about them in a more personal way. So thanks, Heather, for joining us. It's so good to
Yes.
see you. Do you mind just taking a few minutes to introduce yourself and telling us a little bit about how long you've been with Miami?
Sure thing. Thank you, Allison. I'm Heather Chase. I am an associate director of admission at Miami University, the one in Ohio. We are located in Oxford, Ohio, and I've been with Miami roughly, this is year 14 for me. So my first 10 or 11 years, I spent recruiting remotely or working from home before everyone else did in Chicago. And
Right.
so I worked primarily with an out-of-state market, and then kind of made a personal move back to the Cleveland area and said, if Miami still wants me, I'm happy to come. And they were really happy to have me. And so I actually am based in Northeast Ohio now. I live in Shaker Heights. I have two girls. So I'm kind of like going through the process as a parent and as an admission rep, but I've been in Cleveland for about 3 years now. And so it's nice getting to know the schools in the area and the students in the area. And of course, being in state, which is very nice as far as cost is concerned. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Definitely. Yeah. Are you a Miami alum?
I am a Miami alum. Yes, thank you for asking. I forgot to mention, I graduated in 98. So if we have any parents out there that are also alums that graduated about the same year as me, I always love making those connections. Although Miami is a big enough school that I never seem to know anyone when they come up and say, oh, do you know this person or that person? I always fail that test. But yeah, I had a great experience at Miami myself. Although what I always tell students is like, please go see it now because the days that I was there are so different. It's so much newer and cooler than it was when I was there. So yeah, good stuff.
The big question is, are you a Miami merger?
I'm not a merger. No, I'm not a
Ah,
merger. Although I always get excited, and two of my very close friends are a merger, and so they always share the gift. You get a gift every Valentine's Day when you're a Miami merger, when both the husband and wife go to Miami. And so my close friends always share the gift with me. I'll never forget during COVID, Miami sent out the Miami merger masks, so I was wearing those around for a while, and just lots
how
of super
appropriate.
cute, yeah, just adorable gifts. And they send a Valentine's Day card every year. So I always get the inside scoop from my close friends who are Miami mergers as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, for the like, as you know, Estrella, we work with students, in Ohio, all over the US. We had a couple international students this year. So it is kind of, I feel like if you are an Ohioan or you know a bunch of people in your circle that go to Miami, like the Miami merger is such a
It's a hot
thing and
thing.
it's
Yeah.
really cool. But
Yeah. It's
for those
real
people
cute.
that don't know that much about Miami, they might be like,
Yeah.
what are they talking
It's
about? But
actually, I
husband and
mean,
wife.
when you look at the statistics, this is cheesy, but it's actually a higher percentage of people like meet their spouse at Miami than at other places. It's 14% of our students meet their significant other there, and there's all these rituals and traditions around like kissing under the arch and all these things that are supposed to seal the deal for your relationship. So yeah, it's always kind of cute, and it's funny to meet people that are mergers, and you always ask them like, did you do the stuff or did you just like serendipitously end up together? Like, who knows?
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a very fun tradition.
It's funny, like if you're looking for an MRS degree, dot,
Yes,
dot, dot.
exactly. And I always feel like, come on, girls, like that's not what we're here for. But at the same
Yeah,
time, it
no,
is kind of a
no.
cute like
That's a
tradition,
joke,
right?
everybody.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Yeah. So again, if people have not heard of Miami or they know the Miami in Florida, can you tell us a little bit about Miami in Ohio? Just your size, your location, what type of institution you are? That would be helpful.
you bet. So to start off with, Miami was a university before Florida was even a state. We were founded in 1809, so that does make us the original Miami. We are located in Oxford, Ohio, which the name Miami is named after the Native American tribe that was settled in the area at the time. So we're down in a little town called Oxford, Ohio, which is kind of right in between Cincinnati and Dayton. We're definitely like college town. We're not suburban. We're not in the middle of the city. We are definitely a little college town where like everything in Oxford revolves around Miami. We are the main attraction. There are about 16, 17,000 undergrad students that attend Miami. They all live right in town. They're all out and about going about their lives. Our president lives in town. Most of our faculty live there. Many staff members live there. So when you're in Oxford, Ohio, you are in Miami University, and it's a very fun
Hmm.
community, very fun place to spend 4 years. Like I said, mid-sized school on the large end of mid-size, and that we have around 16,000 undergrads and about 2,000 graduate students at Miami. So we
Okay.
are predominantly an undergrad school, and traditional undergrad in the sense that most of our students are coming straight out of high school and directly going into college. Our freshmen and sophomores are required to live on campus, so that dorm experience of your freshman dorm, sophomore dorm, very rich experience. We have communities that you're a part of freshman year that kind of get you into the mix of Miami. And then junior and senior year, most of our students will move off campus to apartments or to houses that a little bit more independence. You get to make your own food and things like that. One of the
Hmm.
most fun traditions at Miami for our off-campus housing is that all of our students name their houses. So if you've ever been to Oxford, Ohio, and you've driven around in the neighborhoods, you'll see signs on every house with a really silly name. Some more appropriate than others, but a lot of students keep those names of the houses for years. And then when students tell you where they live, it's always they live at End Zone, which is a football house, or they live in
Hmm.
different areas. They're all just independent houses. They're not. We do have a Greek life, but they're not affiliated with Greek life in any way. They're just like
Okay.
students coming up with silly names for their houses. So it's a very fun
That's so
tradition.
fun.
If you haven't visited Miami and you're going down, go look around outside because it's not on campus. It's in the neighborhoods around, and they're really funny. There's some really creative stuff there.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about just the student life. And I think, like you had
Yeah,
mentioned, I mean, it's not suburban, it's not urban, it's
right.
really kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yup.
So the student, Miami of Ohio is the main attraction, and the students make their own fun and they have a lot of it. So that's a good
Yeah,
thing. I mean, you're not like you're being sent away and not going to have
right.
anything to do or anywhere to go. Like there's so much vibrant campus life with
Yeah.
Greek life, student clubs,
Organizations. Yeah,
at
yeah.
Division I athletics. Like
Yup,
there's
yup.
definitely a lot going on. So that's
Yeah.
great.
It's funny. I was
Can
just
you
there
go
last
ahead?
week and doing events. Like I said, I'm based in Cleveland, so I'm not there all the time, but I was just there last week for 3 days. And typically I'm there in the summer. I'm not usually there once school has started. And just everybody's out and about. The weather's gorgeous. They're going to
Hmm.
football games, they're going to hockey games, volleyball games, everything. They're Greek events because they're starting up with a new year. Gosh, there's so much happening, and just with the weather being as nice as it is, everybody's out and about. So it's a really, if you are thinking about visiting, fall is really a great time to do it. You get a little taste of what college life would be like.
For sure. Yeah, we really encourage our students to go visit campuses, and where we're in Ohio, I mean, there's just in the Cleveland area, especially, you can be at a large state public institution like Ohio State. You could be at an urban in-state institution like Kent, or sorry, like Cleveland State. You could be a suburban like Kent. You could be at a small private like Case Western that's urban. You can be at a suburban
Yeah.
like a Baldwin Wallace or a John Carroll. You can be out in the middle of nowhere at a Heidelberg or Mount
Right,
Union. So I
right.
mean, even
So
if you
many
have
good
maybe
options.
no interest, I wouldn't say no interest because I'm sure there are interest if you're going to take the time to do that. But I mean, just to get a taste of the size and the type of
Yeah.
institutions, just making that visit is so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure too with Miami, and we tell our students this all the time, like if there is programming going on campus, like a fall visit day or a
Yeah. Yeah.
junior day in the spring or admitted student day, like you
Yeah.
need to get on campus for those and like plan
Absolutely.
ahead. Like especially
Hmm.
around your breaks too. Like if you're going to go during
Right.
fall break or spring
Right.
break, like book them now. You
This
could
is
always
the
cancel.
time. Exactly. And I hate to say it, but those 3-day weekends you have in high school that, most high schools have, those do fill up. And so it's important to make sure that you get stuff on the calendar. Like you said, you can't always cancel. You can always just not show up. It's fine, but get it on your calendar so that you know you have a spot because we do, I mean, so many of our programs, we do have two fall open houses. One is the last Saturday in September, the other is on Halloween. So like the end of every month. And that one at the end of September is already getting close to capacity, which we can't believe, but here we are, so everybody's
Yeah.
looking around, and particularly seniors as they're, starting to apply and starting to like really get serious about, like we said earlier, oh my gosh, it's September. I have to dig into this. And so those are really great times. And then especially for juniors, throughout the spring months, we see a lot of juniors coming over
Hmm.
their spring break when they're just, starting to dig into visiting colleges and thinking more about where could I be next year? Where should I apply next year? Take a look around and do kind of a little car tour of all things. Hopefully, Ohio, probably also south of Ohio, but just lots
Yeah.
of great things to see. But those spring break weeks do fill up quickly, and
Yeah.
so it's important to get on the map, get there when you can.
Yeah, and I even, telling my Northeast Ohio kids that are looking to come check out Miami, I'll say go to Dayton. That's like a
Yes, go to
mid-size,
Dayton, go to Xavier, go to
suburban-ish
UC.
campus.
Yeah.
Then you can go
Yup.
down to Oxford, then you can go down to
Yup.
UC and go to a big state school,
Right.
like an urban
Right.
one. So you can kind
Because
of get
they
a
are
taste of
so
those.
different. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like some students will go see Miami and go see UC, and they're so polar opposite that like one or the other is going to appeal to you in a good way. Like if it's not Miami,
Hmm.
that's okay because that's probably like not the best scene for you, right? But you have to kind of see both to get a feel for that, and you'll know the minute you get there. But on the flip side, you can't know when you're just looking online. Like we do have a million virtual tours. They're amazing. It's a great thing that came out of COVID. We all have a lot of
Hmm.
virtual things on our website, but
Yes,
it really doesn't compare to like walking across that campus, hiking through what the academic buildings look like, seeing a dorm, all of that stuff just is, you can't do it online. You've got to be there. So yeah,
for
that's
sure.
really
Yeah,
important.
and just the vibe of students on campus
Yup.
too. I mean, I
Yup.
feel like can you see your people there? And I think just
Yes.
even like there was a campus 20 years ago, when I
Yeah.
was visiting, and it was even before like we all had phones, but I think we all had iPods.
Hmm.
Everybody had their headphones on, everybody was looking down, nobody was talking to each other, nobody held a door for each other, and that was just very, I
Like
got the ick.
off
I was
putting.
like, oh,
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah. Just
like
like
this.
not.
But some
Yeah.
people like that. They don't want to have
Yes.
to
100%.
conversate and, hang out with people. Like they're there
Right.
to get their education, get in, get out, not be
Right.
seen or noticed. And I was like, oh, this is not for me.
Yeah, that's
So,
maybe, I mean, that's for some people, but not for everyone. And I think that's,
mhm,
yeah, again, not something you can see on a virtual tour, but once you get there, you just kind of get a feel for what works and what doesn't. So,
for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Come see us if you get a chance. Tons of opportunities all on our website. You don't have to call. Parents always ask, should we call and schedule? Nope, just go online. It's very easy.
Yeah, that's very nice too.
Yeah, yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about academics. So as far as your programs, I mean, I know you're good at a lot of things, but can you just highlight maybe the few programs that are probably the most notable? And then I'd love to hear maybe one that you feel like is flying under the radar. Like, well,
you
like,
bet. You bet.
yeah,
So academically, Miami is a little bit of a jack of all trades. We have 120 different majors. We have quite a few minors as well. We also have something called a co-major, which is kind of in between a major and a minor, but that can be done in 4 years for sure. So lots academically. And one thing I tell students is you don't need to know that exact thing when you walk through the door at Miami. So Miami's usually pretty good about it. It's very easy to change majors. It's very easy to add majors or add minors. So if you have like a rough idea of I like math, that's a good thing. And there are plenty of directions you can go with that. But if you don't know that exact direction or if you're still fine tuning that, that's perfectly fine. We have 5 different colleges at Miami, a College of Arts and Science, which I think every university in the country has, so it's not unique. We have our
hmm,
college, our Farmer School of Business, which is predominantly business majors, our College of Engineering and Computing, which is what it sounds like, our College of Education and Health Sciences, which is obviously teaching, but then also some of our related health, nutrition, let's see, things along the line of dietetics, kinesiology, that kind of stuff. And then our College of Creative Arts, which is, music, theater, etc. Then we also have a nursing major, which doesn't fit in a college, which doesn't make any sense, just kind of the way the university is structured, but also a very strong major with us. So of all of our majors, with every single one of our majors, you do have a liberal arts core curriculum that you're
okay,
completing in addition to the major. And they don't go in order. So it all kind of happens simultaneously. So as a new freshman at Miami, like your first year, you're probably going to take a couple general core classes and a couple major classes at the same time. I always tell students, if you're an accounting major, we are not going to throw you in 5 accounting classes on your first day or your first semester because you would lose your mind. So
Hmm.
sometimes those core classes are a little bit of a balance so that you don't get in over your head in your major. While at the same time, some students take a core class in, geography and discover that's an area they had no idea they were interested in.
Yeah.
So sometimes
Yeah.
the core classes can be end up being your minor or end up being other areas that you find interest in. Your core classes are, we call them the Miami Plan classes. So if you hear me say Miami Plan, that's what I mean. Those
Okay.
classes are often the ones that AP classes and CCP classes or dual enrollment classes replace. So if you have taken, an AP US history or an AP science class, you might have one less core class to worry about when you're at Miami. Miami takes an AP score of 3, 4, or 5 for credit. And then also typically your dual enrollment classes just automatically transfer in. So a lot of
Okay.
students come in ahead of the game a little bit academically because they've knocked out some of those core classes. And again, that just means you can open the doors for a few more major classes early on if that's something you want to do.
Okay.
Majors that are strong with us, our business school is very well known and very, a lot of people end up at Miami for the business major. Our nursing major is also very strong. Health sciences related majors, so everything from your obvious pre-med down to nursing is obviously a health science. Nutrition, kinesiology. We just
Hmm.
opened a PA program, physician assistant program at the master's level. We have a lot of students that do undergrad and physician assistant and then can stay at Miami if they want to and do the master's. So lots of
Okay.
healthcare related stuff there. And then we can talk a little bit about admission on those in a minute here. But one, I know
Okay.
you mentioned a major that is kind of flying under the radar. This really cool major at Miami called Emerging Technology in Business and Design. It is kind of a
Okay.
mix
The
of a
mouthful.
couple different stuff, right? It's a total mouthful. We all talk about it as ETBD, which again is also a mouthful, so we didn't do the best job abbreviating it. But
That's
that
better, but
being
yeah.
said, it is business, it is technology, it is design, digital design, and it's kind of the intersection of the three of those. Most students that major in ETBD don't know what it is when they start. They start in a business or a digital design major, and then they kind of realize, oh, wait a minute, this sounds super cool, and it's kind of what I want to do. But if you're a student that has interest in business, in digital creation, design, entrepreneurship, that type of stuff, that might be a cool major for you to check out.
Is that within the Farmer School of Business?
Actually, so it's not in Farmer. It's in our College of Creative Arts, actually, which is super
Oh,
interesting. But
okay.
it pulls a lot from Farmer, it pulls a lot from Creative Arts, pulls a lot from the entrepreneurship department, and kind of like is a mix of all three. It is amazing. Those are
That's
the jobs
great.
that students get that they don't even exist right now. They're coming down the road. So if you start an ETPD 4 years from now, chances are good you'll be doing something cool. They were talking to us the other day about how 4 years ago students were starting in that major to get jobs in AI, and they're like, look at AI today. It's
Hmm.
commonplace. But back then, those students, nobody really knew or believed in AI, and now here we are. So they're like, now it's the
Definitely.
next thing, and no one knows what it's going to be, and it's amazing, really cool stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know we were talking a little bit before we started recording about Farmer School of Business, and I feel like, I mean, that's something I definitely want to touch on with
Yeah.
you, and you can give as much or as little insight as you want. But I don't know, maybe like out of the pandemic, I felt like it was pretty accessible. Like you could really
It
apply to
was.
any Miami college, and
Yep.
if you're a solid student, had a good chance of getting in.
Mhm.
Last year, there was a massive shift.
Yes.
Students
Yes.
that would have been no-brainers, I guess,
Yes.
that I would have sent years prior
Yes.
were, denied or,
Yes.
and it was like,
Things.
whoa, whoa, whoa. And I
Yeah.
think just like I have friends and family that, actually
Mhm.
not family, but friends that are like family, we kind of consider
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Um, a really good friend of ours whose son is there and he's doing big things. Like he just got back from Luxembourg. He
Yeah.
did a summer internship in Chicago. Like
Yeah.
all these things. She's like, it's not for the faint of heart. So I
It's
think
a
they just
serious
need to be more
commitment.
selective.
Like,
Yeah, they need to be more
yeah.
selective if they want to
Yeah.
be like serious contenders at these Fortune 500s and in these big city
Right.
markets. So
Right.
I actually did a webinar like I said, I'm in Avon, Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Did a webinar for our local business club at the high
Uh-huh.
school and
Oh neat.
yeah, I had Joy Usner
Oh
on.
yeah,
And it
Yeah.
was right before she had moved
Exactly.
out of her role in
Yep.
the business school to a different role at Miami, but
It's in our
just
office
gave
now. She works in admission.
she was wonderful, just such a
Yeah.
cheerleader for Miami, but like gave the students a lot of good insight and you could see the
Mhm.
wheels turning like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. These are the
Mhm.
expectations for someone who's going to be a competitive
Yep.
applicant for this.
Yep.
So
Yep.
let's talk just kind of generically about
Yes.
what you're looking for in a Miami student, just across the board. And
Yep.
then can you speak to like kind of what you're looking for with a farmer applicant? Because I
Yep.
think
Yep.
there's some
A little
distinction.
bit more. Yup, yup,
Hmm.
for sure. So Miami overall, we are holistic in the way we review your application. And so we remain test optional. We do have many, many things we look at outside of a test score. That being said, if you have a great test score, we would not, hesitate to take it and look at that as well.
Hmm.
We use the Common App, so you're going to put a lot of information in there that we're looking for, what you're involved in, activities, leadership stuff that you're a part of. You're going to send a recommendation to us from a teacher or a school counselor. We do read that. We do look heavily to see, are you a strong student, academically speaking? And then outside of just the Common App, the part that you're doing, you're sending your transcript from your high school. So your transcript is kind of the meat of your application. We look pretty heavily at your curriculum, at what you've done across the board, what choices you've made. If you are at, for example, Avon High School, we know you have a lot of AP classes to choose from. We know you have dual enrollment options. Are you taking advantage of those? I would not say
Hmm.
one carries more weight than the other because we look at them both pretty equally. But we do like to see that you're challenging yourself. With the business school, they specifically, in nursing too, specifically like to see math at the pre-calculus level or higher. That
Okay.
usually is a really solid indicator. I would go so far as to say calculus would be an excellent marker for math class as a senior. And I
Okay.
know students always say, well, I don't have grades in that class yet, but when we look at your curriculum, we're looking at that separately from your grades. We look at that first before we dig into grades, and we look to see, how high up have you gone in math, and that will include your senior math because obviously it builds on itself. So
Hmm.
we like to see that you're, like I said, calc level. That's always going to look strong with us. We like to see at least 3 years of science, but if you have 4 years of science, that's always going to look strong. Your English is a given because you have to take English in high school. But things like AP level English, AP level social science, foreign language beyond just that 2 year minimum, things like
Okay.
that, I'll build, and I'll present a really strong application. People always email and say, like, well, what if I only did 2 years of a foreign language? Like, is that going to hurt me? It's like, no, if the rest of your curriculum is strong, that's not going to hurt you. But if the rest
Yeah.
of your curriculum is just mediocre and then that's mediocre too, it's like, you need a balance.
Yeah.
So, and then we of course look at your grades. So if you're wanting to go into accounting and you've had C's in math all along, we're going to have some questions, right? But
Yeah.
on the flip side, if you want to go into accounting and you've had a C in English, we can sometimes look at that and say, well, you've had A's in math, that makes a
Yeah.
little bit more sense. We look at your GPA overall. We always take your weighted GPA. So those AP or CCP courses are going to be, weighted accordingly. If you are at a high school that does not weight grades, we will weight the grades for you. So if your school is one that, just an A is an A, no matter what level course you're taking, we will recalculate a GPA for you. But otherwise, if you're at a school that weights grades, we just take the GPA exactly from your high school, exactly as it's listed on your transcript. So we don't do
Okay.
the time to do a recalculation of any kind. So we're just looking at it as it is. On a 4 point scale, I think our average comes in between a 3.5 and a 4.0. But again, that's the entire applicant pool of 30,000 students. So I think when you get
Yeah.
into business students specifically, it does tend to be like a 3.8 or higher GPA. I know there are students that had that did not get into business last year.
Hmm.
I would say one thing that we've leaned into a little bit more heavily in last year and then we will be this year is the level of demonstrated interest, the level of engagement a student has with Miami. Being a public
Okay.
institution in Ohio, we end up on a lot of students' lists, right? Like a lot of students say, oh, I'm applying to Miami and this and that and the other because they're all Common App and it's really easy to do. And so we do want to offer admission to students who want to be at Miami and we want to
Okay.
see, evidence of that. Just to give you an idea, with the business school last year, there were about 12,000 applicants to business. There are 1,100 seats in the business school. The previous year, there were about 8,000 applicants to business, and there were still
Wow.
1,100 seats. So when the
Yeah.
applicant pool increases so significantly, that's why we had to look into demonstrated interest a bit more, and why we had to be more selective. The number of seats hasn't grown, and the applicant pool is growing, and that's a
Okay.
deadly combo, right?
What about I think we've seen this in like some of the super selective schools, like University of Texas does this, and it's
Mhm,
becoming more popular. Like because they've got such great applicants,
mhm.
perfect ACTs and every AP on the book or whatever, but more fit to major. So if you're someone who's considering Farmer School of Business, is that something that you're looking to see on a student activities list? Is like DECA,
Mhm.
they've started their own business, they've done some internships or some shadowing. Like, is that important, or can you be like a really strong applicant and just like generically put
Just
down
do any,
business
just do a
because you don't
course,
know
just do
what to
whatever.
do?
Yeah, I totally get it. I don't think that that is something that is gonna, if you're on the border, that's gonna move the needle. If you're a really strong student, but you don't have DECA on your application, it's not gonna keep you out, But if you're on the
Okay.
border and you're writing an essay about how you started your own business, like that's gonna carry weight with us. Also, though,
Okay.
I would say I would hope you write the essay and take a campus tour, or and engage with us in some way,
Okay.
so that we can make note that you are very interested in Miami. One thing that we're not using as heavily, there's been a lot in the courts about this recently, but we aren't really looking into legacy that much. And for a variety of reasons, which we read about in the news every day,
Hmm.
legacy doesn't carry a ton of weight with us. We just feel like it's a, gray area that we can't really lean into as heavily as we'd like to. So, that being said, I know a lot of students are, both parents went to Miami or siblings go to Miami or things like that. And they say, well, of course I've been to Miami. I don't need to take a regular tour because I've been there. But
Hmm.
please take a regular tour, because we want to get on
Yeah.
record that you've visited Miami. Please, even if you're visiting your sister while she's there, stop into the admission office and just say, can you jot down that I visited? So that we have record
Yeah.
that you are interested, because we don't always know if you're just going to see your sister in her dorm that you are interested in Miami. And sometimes we assume you're not. Sometimes we think, well, do you really want to go here, or are you just being dragged here by your parents? So
Yeah, for
make
sure.
sure that you let us know.
And also, we were talking a little bit before we got started. You were talking about your daughter and how you're kind of going through this process as a parent and doing high school visits, and how like less and less
Yes.
students are showing up at the high school
Mhm.
visits because high school's strenuous and like they can't afford to miss an AP Econ exam, or they don't want to leave their English class or their math class. They don't want to miss something really important. If that's the case, if you are someone who's really, really interested in
Yep.
Miami and for some reason you can't skip out, during that 9 o'clock block to
That's
go,
fine.
just
Yes.
shoot someone like Heather an email. Just say,
Yep.
hey, I saw that you were at Chagrin Falls High School
Yep.
yesterday, or that you're coming, like I know that
Yep.
you're coming tomorrow. I'm very interested in Miami. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it. Is there any way you could leave me information with the counselor, or maybe we could set up something else like to talk over Zoom, or like that would be, I mean, maybe I'm
That's
speaking for you, but I
perfect.
think that just
Nope.
goes a
You're exactly
really
right.
long way. Like we
Yep.
know that it's hard to get on campus. If you're someone who loves
Yes.
Miami, but like time and money, that's not
You're
going to be
busy. Yeah, you have
feasible.
so much
Like,
going on.
yeah,
Yes, we
reach
get
out,
it.
just let them know.
Yeah.
Like there's other ways to
Yes.
show demonstrated interest
Yes.
beyond making a campus visit.
100%. Yes. And even, literally, like you said, I just got an email this morning from a student that said, we have an AP exam on when you're going to be here. Like, do not miss your AP exam. Do not skip. I know how hard that is to be out of those classes, and to miss a day is like missing a week, it's so heavy. So, just reach out. We can set something up, or we can email, and, we will certainly make note of that in any way we can. We just want to see that you're engaging with Miami. And I think that
Yeah.
that pays off a lot in the application review. So, oh,
Yeah, I think too, I mean, it's like just like a dating analogy. Like you want
it's
to be wanted. Like why
right,
would
right.
Miami, if they have a very competitive applicant pool for certain
Yep.
things, and you never that show them any love, like they're not probably going to return that
It's hard
love.
to
So
convince us. Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard. You want to show us that, like, if we admit you, we have a shot at enrolling you, which is what everybody wants in the end. So, yeah,
for
you got
sure.
it.
This 30 minutes has flown by. Like I feel like I'm only
Yes, I'm
halfway
so
through my
sorry.
questions and I have no, it's great. It's been a great conversation. It's been a very easy conversation. So I
Yes,
appreciate that. Maybe we have to do like a part two at some point.
you
But
can.
um
Absolutely.
okay, I want to ask you quickly about presidential scholars. Like I
Yes.
know that when people apply to
Yep.
Miami based on their test scores, and if they choose to send in the test or sorry, their GPA, and if they send in test scores or whatnot, like they're eligible for automatic scholarship just based on application. And you have a rubric listed on your
We do.
website, so if it's very
Yeah.
transparent.
Yes.
Um, but can you talk about the presidential scholarship? Because I
Mhm.
actually had a student that got that this year and it's
Amazing.
fantastic.
Oh
So,
my
I mean,
gosh.
so proud of her. She's going to kill it.
Yeah.
But can you just talk a little bit about that
Very
opportunity?
cool. Yeah. So it's a full ride scholarship, the Presidential Fellows Award. And it's a full ride with tuition and room and board. And you get a stipend. So it's like the ultimate. We select roughly between 20 and 30 students every year to get that award. We know those students have a lot of dates to the dance. So a lot of our students, we're
Mhm.
always thrilled when those students end up at Miami, but some of them end up in the Ivy Leagues and some end up at Miami. So we always have a fantastic weekend where they all come down and visit. And it's a really cool experience. That being said, when you're applying to Miami, there's a question on our application, if you're interested, that says, would you like to be considered for our honors college? And students who are considered for the honors college are also, I believe the question actually says honors
Mhm.
college and presidential fellows. But point being, students that are in the honors college are automatically considered for presidential fellows. There's no extra honors essay or honors anything special that you have to do. You just check the box and you're automatically considered for honors. Of course, then we're using what's on your Common App as our review for your honors materials and stuff. So please, make that strong. We're looking at your grades. We're looking at, if you're submitting a test score and things, we'll look at that too. But that's kind of the stuff we're going to look at again for honors. I think a lot of students look at Miami and they're like, oh, academically, I'm good to get in, so I don't need to stress about my essay or I don't need to worry about all this stuff. But that's where we use your essay and your activities. Maybe it's not for admission, right? But maybe you're in consideration for one of these big scholarships. And that's where we fall back on your essay or your activities or your recommendation letter, where you would have
Yeah.
been no trouble getting into Miami. And a lot of students, I think, say, like, oh, why do I have to write this whole essay? I'm going to be fine for admission. But you never know when we come back to it again
Yeah.
and again. And since it's the only thing we ask you to submit, we do reference it multiple times. So if you have applied to honors, we look back, we see, are you admissible to honors? Are you one of our top honors students? And those students are typically the ones that are selected for presidential fellows. If you're selected for presidential fellows, that means that you're selected for like the first round, and the first round is in February. It is an interview
Mhm.
day on our campus. It is presidential fellows, and so it is President's Day weekend that you would come down to
Ah,
campus, and you come
mark
on
your
a Sunday and
calendar.
Monday, and you do some interviews with faculty. You meet with people in your major. You'll see me there. You'll see a lot of past presidential fellows students there, kind
Mhm.
of interviewing and talking with students, and getting to know you a little bit better. And then we usually bring about 100 students to campus for that interview day. And of those students, typically 20 to 30 are selected based on that day for the full ride scholarship. So, like I said, it's an incredible day. I always feel like I don't belong in that room because everyone is so darn smart. It is amazing. It was really, really fun to see.
And do you subsidize their trip back to
We
campus? Like if
do.
a student's
Yes.
from like New
Yes.
York City. Okay, okay.
All
That's
expenses
cool.
paid. We literally even have international students coming to that day, and we will fly them in and we get them on campus and get them all set up. Typically, they bring one parent with them, and so you stay with your parent in our hotel. I almost said dorm in our hotel on campus, and you're fed, you're accommodated in every way possible. You're kind of like the VIP guest that day, so it's very fun, very cool.
That is awesome. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that concludes what I can probably ask you for
Great.
today. But
Mhm.
again, if you are watching this, if you have more questions for Heather,
Yeah,
please feel
reach
free to
out.
reach out to her.
Great. Mhm.
Um, and we really appreciate your time. And thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
all you do to help support our virtual visit and help our students out. We appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Well, take care, Allison. Have a good afternoon.
All right. Thanks so much, Heather. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.